Hi, I'm Shanequa Rice with Elite Realty Partners, and I'm here before you again with some more information, educating my buyers, and I bring the lenders in front of you. In order for me to educate you, I'm going to ask the questions in front of you so that you can understand why I tell you guys what I tell you, why I ask you to get ready in the way I ask you to get ready, so that you can understand the programs that are out there to help you buy. Today, I have Gesner here.
Hello.
One of my favorites. He's another one of our preferred lenders with Elite Realty.
Yes. So thank you for having me, Shanequa.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a ton of questions today. I'm ready to answer them for you.
I'll keep it short today. I'll keep it short. But Gesner, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Gesner Florent. I've been a lender for the past 22 years.
Wow.
And really, the goal for me has always been to really use real estate, at least help folks understand how they can use real estate to lift them out of poverty and really leave a legacy. You know, that's very important for me. So everything I do when it comes to real estate is really to educate, making sure my realtor partners and, of course, the customer understand that buying a home is not just to have a home for today, but it's a way to build generational wealth
over time,
for the next
definitely.
generation. Absolutely.
Definitely. So thanks for that, Gesner. Yes. So 22 years. So rest assured, he knows what he's talking about. So there's two programs that this bank really shines on, and I wanted Gesner to help us understand that. So what's the name of your bank again?
It's Revolution Mortgage.
Revolution. I do know that, but I wanted you guys to know that. Revolution Mortgage, and you are the branch production manager. Wow. So I'm telling you, I'm not just going to bring anybody in front of you. I'm going to bring somebody of expertise. So the first program that I'd like to talk about is the Buyer Ready program.
Yeah.
So some of the highlights, these are my notes here so I don't go off topic, because I tend to, talk and I get excited about real estate, but so that I keep myself on task here. I know there are 3 highlights that I want to highlight for my clients.
Sure.
And what I like to do, I like to pre-screen my clients before I bring them to you, so that they understand what they need. And by the time we get to you, they're a step ahead, and we can start the process and move along pretty quickly as possible to get them
absolutely
the property.
Yeah. All
right, guys. So the first question I have regarding the Buyer Ready program is the credit. I like my clients to be aware of what they need. So what credit score are you guys looking for regarding the Buyer Ready program?
Yeah, so the Buyer Ready program, just to kind of give you some perspective on what it really is, right? So a client has 3 ways, really 2 ways, to get what we call pre-qualify or pre-approved when it comes to purchasing a home. So most people would probably get pre-qualified, right? So that's where they either go online or they just talk to ABC Bank or lender,
just get anything,
or broker, right? So through a conversation, they tell them, hey, this is how much I make, this is my credit score. In some cases, they may even pull the credit, right? Hard or soft pull, and then they would generate a pre-qualification. In some instances, the client can actually do that online by themselves, right? Now, there isn't much weight to that, right? Because you truly don't know what you qualify for. Now, banks cannot pre-screen people, right? Therefore, we have to give them a pre-approval based on what they say their information, whatever the information they provide us, right? Then you have a pre-qualification process. The pre-qualification it goes a little bit farther than the pre-approval process.
Is that once we find the house or not yet?
No. So the pre-qualification is the one that I described. The pre-approval process, you get a little bit more detail, right? This is before we find the house.
Okay.
Because what we want to do, we want to get the person, we want to understand what their buying power is before we start shopping.
Okay.
So we want to know, okay, if I'm out there as a realtor, what are we shopping for?
We're not just shopping because you tell me this is the house you want, or you tell me this is what you want to buy. I need to know as a realtor what your affordability is according to the lender.
Correct. So we want to determine your buying power. So that's all the pre-qualification or the pre-approval process is supposed to do, right?
And let me stop you. I just want to stick a pin in that, because a lot of clients come to me and they'll say, I already know what I want. So the reason why we cannot do that, because you don't know what your assets equal when it comes to the lender. The lender, there may be something that's on your credit that you don't even, that you're not aware that's there. I've had clients realize student loans pop up, fraud pops up and you're not even aware. So
Right.
you know what you want, but you may not necessarily qualify, or it may not make it to the closing table because the bank has to make sure you clear these things up before we move forward. So this is why the first step is always financing. Get your financing together before we start shopping.
I mean, thank you for bringing, that's a very, very good point. So once we determine either through the pre-qualification process, which again, the pre-qualification doesn't really involve a lot of paperwork, right? Now we can do a pre-approval. The pre-approval goes a little bit deeper, right? That's when you supply documentations, and then we can run credit, and we kind of figure out, what exactly you qualify for based on the particular loan guideline that you're looking to purchase, to use to make your purchase. What the Home Ready program does for us, which is something that we are very proud of here at Revolution, is that we say, fine, let's pre-approve you, let's collect all the documentations, but can we go a step further than that, right? So we take that client through the process, the same process would take someone who have already found a house,
which is usually what we do after we send the offer in. So that's
right.
where you got my attention.
Yeah. Well, part of that, we don't want our realtor partners to get any type of surprises at the end.
That's so true. It's so disheartening to turn around and tell a buyer we're ready to move, and
100%.
something pops up later on down the line, and then we have to break that news.
Right. Just imagine being a buyer yourself, right? You find a house that you're in love with.
Yes.
Just to turn around and hear, no, you can't
Oh
buy
my
it,
goodness.
right? So we want to take that out of the equation. So we want to give the buyer an opportunity, and the realtor, right? You're driving around, you got to know, hey, my client can actually close on this deal, right? So that's very important.
The goal is for us to make it to the closing table.
Absolutely.
So not only it's not my home, but technically, if you don't make it to the closing table, I'm just I can't sleep just as bad as you can. So trust me, we're all a team here. We're working together. My goal is for you to get your keys just as much as you want a new place to lay your head.
Absolutely. Yeah. So once we get the client to that next phase, the home buyer ready process, that's where we pretty much collect all the documents. Now we'll still give you pre-approval up front, but like if we do it day one, but it's going to take about 1 to 2 business days for us to get the file through underwriting. Right? The underwriter is going to review the credit. That means the client is credit approved. They're going to look at income. The client is income approved, right? And then we're also going to look at the assets. The client is assets approved. So now you have a client that's actually approved with condition, right? So by the time you put an offer on a house, what you need is your appraisal and title. And that's pretty much it.
So what are the conditions that you mentioned?
So the conditions you're going to have are going to be your typical conditions, just like any regular loan that has a contract, except this one just doesn't have a contract.
Not yet, right?
So then
we're ahead of the game.
We're way ahead of the game, right? So as you look for a home, now what you also have, you can start clearing conditions, right? So if you have conditions for, an explanation for large deposit, we can get that out of the way. If it's condition,
updated paychecks, maybe
updated pay stub, or if it's something related to income, we can address all that, right? So the file is moving through the process even before you actually find a house, right? So by the time you find a home, you go through your inspection, and yes, this is the home we're going to put an offer on. We're going to do an appraisal on, in order title. Well, the approval process is almost out of the way. So now we speed that file up. Instead of closing in 25 to 30 days, which is the normal time for your regular
or even a little longer,
some cases, right? In this case, we can close in as little as 12 to 15 days.
I cannot believe this.
Absolutely.
So how can I present this to the listing agent or to the seller? Let them know that, hey, not only is my buyer pre-approved, pre-qualified, we're one step further.
Absolutely.
How can I say that? Because I want them to know that we've done all of this background work ahead of time. I want them to know that my buyer is going to be a lot more qualified to purchase this home.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. So the benefit for seller's agent, when you talk about, this borrower is already approved.
Yes.
Now, a lot of listing agents, they're not used to the buyer ready program, right? So when they hear about client is approved, they're thinking it's like your
regular pre-approval.
Right. But when you explain to them, listen, I have a commitment letter. Right?
The thing that we usually get a couple of weeks later.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So instead of me writing a contract with a 20-day commitment letter, I don't need that. Take that out of the equation. So now,
so my loan approval period is a lot
0.
Wow.
Your loan approval period is 0, right? So you don't have a loan approval period because you already have it, right? So now, who are you competing with? You're not competing with your folks that have a pre-qualification
I just
letter.
skipped to the top of the front of the line.
Now you're competing with cash buyers. Right?
So this is as good as being a cash.
It's just as good as a cash buyer. In fact, probably even better because you can close in 15 days or 12.
Because no matter what, even though we say cash buyer, cash buyers still have a process to go through. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's very, very competitive in that sense. And the goal, especially when you are in a competitive market,
right,
it helps you get to the top of the line. So it's important that we can explain to the listing agent so they can present it to their seller, that, hey, this person is already ready.
And you about to get your check a lot sooner than you realize.
Exactly, right. Yeah, so we don't have to go through the whole process.
Right. So back to what I was saying as far as the credit, what credit score are you guys looking for?
So the Buyer Ready program, it's the same as any type of program that eligibility that you'll be looking at. So for FHA, 580, right, is our minimum score,
right,
and 620 for our conventional products, right, 580 for our VA products, right. So it's the same process. So all the credit score requirement is no different. The only thing that we're changing here is we're going to approve this file. Then. We're just going to speed it up for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So it's same qualifications typically that we usually would do. This doesn't change the type of loan. This is just the process in which the loan goes.
Absolutely. You got it.
I get it now. I get it now. So, wow, this is half the questions that I thought I was going to have. I see the difference now. It's really just us doing everything up front, more than everything. I know we always secure our financing up front, but we're doing more. You are pretty much almost guaranteeing us this loan.
Absolutely.
Almost. There's always, we have to scrub the file at the end, which are what the conditions are. Make sure everything is as it is. You don't go buying cars or jewelry or any big purchases or making large deposits towards the end, because the bank does need to guarantee that we can pay back this loan.
Absolutely. So we want to make sure that the loan qualifies, right? Obviously, we got to make sure the debt to income ratio remain the same.
Right.
The person is still employed.
Yes.
So we want to make sure all that is still the same. Right. So that's not going to change.
Right.
But the benefit for everybody involved is speed. It's time.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And it takes the mystery out of what type of conditions we're going to have, because we already know that.
Right.
We know that up front. Right. And as I mentioned, if you present a pre-approval to a listing agent, or if you present a loan that's already conditionally approved, that's completely different, right? Man. So that sets you in a completely different bracket.
It sets us apart.
Right.
So I would like to talk about affordability, because I do want the audience, the public, to understand what buying in South Florida is like.
Right.
These are programs that are allowing us to purchase quicker, help us understand or get through the process a lot better, because it's, the buying process can be is very overwhelming, especially to first-time home buyers or somebody who hasn't bought in a long time. So I want everybody to understand the new market. What would you say would be your average, in your experience, my experience, I would say, because we don't want to knock anybody out or discriminate, but I just want people to understand what would be the average salary, you would say. It's an estimate to afford a single family home, because a lot of people, they come to me and they say, I want a home, I want a yard.
Right.
But, this is their first time. So they understand what it took back then, what it took years ago to afford a single family home. What would you say in your experience, the average salary it is to afford a single family home?
Yeah. So in this particular market, obviously every market is different.
Yes.
But in the Tri-County, if we're talking about
Miami-Dade
County,
Broward, and Palm Beach
County, it's very important, even before we get into that, to understand the bank's responsibility, right, or the lender's responsibility. So we lend to everyone that can afford to repay back the loan.
Definitely.
Right. If someone wishes to apply, they have to apply, and we are happy to help that person through the process. Which is why the Home Buyer Ready program is so important, because it allows that person to see from an underwriting perspective, exactly what they qualify
and it
for.
streamlines the process.
It streamlines the process. You're right. So, so with that said, if someone is looking to purchase, we don't have a number in mind. What determines their eligibility or their buying power is how much money they make, right? So, or what type of income do they have?
Right. So this is more a subject of affordability.
Correct. Right. So then we determine, hey, how much you can afford. For example, if someone say, hey, I make 50,000, for example, and maybe 50,000, and I'm not saying this is true or specific to a situation, but let's just say 50,000 with that income in South Florida, that probably would qualify you, considering taxes, insurance,
HOA.
and perhaps HOA, right? Maybe that's going to be about 150 to 200,000, right? Let's just call it that.
So when they tell me that, it's my job to just give you an estimate as the client about what's on the market around that price range.
Yeah.
So in South Florida, that price range would get you a condominium. You may find a townhome, but usually townhomes in that price range are governed by condominiums. So you're still technically buying a condominium with the higher down payments. They're way more affordable. It's a great thing to start off with. You have associations, which a lot of people have the wrong conception about that. Associations help keep the value up. They help the maintenance, and it's common areas. So in South Florida, under 250, actually, Gesner is saying 150,000, just to give you an idea. But under 250,000 is pretty much a condominium.
Absolutely,
so, yes.
So, but with that, if that's what the person qualifies for, we're going to give them
that would be their affordability
based on that. Exactly.
Right.
Now, on average, homes in South Florida are selling right around 450, right?
Right.
So to afford a home around 450,
those are single family homes. When we say homes,
correct,
that's what we mean by that.
Correct.
Yes.
So that person that's making, say, 50,000 a year, if they have perhaps another person that's going to reside in the home with them,
which is what we call a co-borrower.
That would be a co-borrower.
Is co-borrower and co-signer the same thing?
Not quite, right? So in this case, we're looking at someone who's going to be a co-borrower that's going to be living with them in the house. Then that person's income, we can use that or combine the two income for them to qualify.
Perfect.
In some instances, you may have someone that's a non-occupant co-borrower. And what that is, that's someone who may already have their own home, or they may reside in a different state, or they're not going to be residing in the home. So that's why we call them a non-occupant co-borrower.
Right.
We can use that person's income. We still have to consider all their debt, right? And then we can use that income, the combined income, to qualify the person to buy a home.
Okay.
So if you were to ask me, so what income one person needs to have, or what's the average income one?
Well, for a single family home,
because
that's the average request.
Correct.
In South Florida. So that's just what I wanted people to understand.
Right. So I would say you probably want to be above about 80,000 to 90,000 in order to get something around that 400, 450
range.
Because you got to think about tax, you got to think about insurance, because we do have
maintenance, definitely,
and maintenance. So you got to be somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay.
But I don't want people to think that's what you need to really get excited about buying a home.
Right. Well, what you brought up was a good point, because even if I'm only making 50,000, you're saying approximately 90. That means my co-borrower only has to be making about 40,000. So it's not bad. So just that you're providing options.
Correct.
You guys should be optimistic, understanding there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to start off, and this is just the beginning. You're just starting off. Who's to say what's going to happen down the line? So just understand, grandma and granddaddy, aunts and uncles back in the day, when they purchased, their homes were astronomical to them.
Absolutely.
At that time.
Yeah.
So
and the rates were like 18%.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Say that again.
Rates were about 18%, 22%.
Yes. I read in the 70s, it was like 12%.
Yeah.
So we don't realize that, times change. And when everybody's asking for extremely low interest rates, as we had during COVID, that actually is signification that there's something wrong in our society. The reason why COVID interest rates were extremely low is because there was actually a world pandemic, a disaster.
Right.
So that really drops the federal market rate. So, I know a lot of people don't understand that, but, our rates are kind of like dropping by
rates are coming down quite
a little bit right now. Yeah, I see that.
Pretty fast actually. So we do expect. I mean, obviously, we don't know this for
it's
sure.
Also, election time.
Yeah, but we do expect rates to continue with the deceleration that we're seeing right now. So hopefully, we are hopeful that we'll be in the mid fives very soon.
Give us a call for this Buyer Ready program. I'm telling you guys, the information is going to be down below. This video is going to be posted for you guys to replay. Go back. If you have any questions, give me a call. We'll connect with me, you, and Gesner so that we can get this show on the road.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where can they find you, Gesner?
Well, they can find me at Mr._Florent. That's FLORANT. On I guess that's IG, right? Yeah.
Yes.
At IG.
Okay. Are you on Facebook or LinkedIn? I know a lot of business people are on LinkedIn.
I am on LinkedIn. You can find me at Gesner Florent on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook, but to be completely honest with you, I do not remember what the handle is.
No problem. I'll make sure all of his information will be underneath this video, along with mine, guys. I'm Shanequa Rice with Elite Realty. I am your South Florida multi-door realtor, here to always educate you. I am the person to call.